like him. He's a good man. He is not a racist. I can tell you that. He's a good person.
Yeah, thanks, Donny. You're the best. I'm not a racist. I left my Blackamoor badge at home. I thought this isn't appropriate for the public. But that's just me. Is there a ghost in the house? Get Ardeen Taylor on the phone and he'll explain it to us. I just say that because I could have sworn that somebody came in just now, and I turned quickly and there was nobody there. Scary. That's not the first time I've noticed that in here. So, but I mean, this building has been repurposed from whatever it was. I've got no idea what it was before. Probably a slaughterhouse or something like that. Maybe it's an old Indian burial ground. But that's the second time I could have swore, I would have laid money on it, that somebody had come into this. Well, it's a very small studio. It's not like the capacious and luxurious space that everybody else broadcasts from. Oh, I can only dream of doing a show from a luxurious space. I'm in a broom cupboard up here. I'm not allowed to sit in the big people's seat. And so if there was somebody else in here, I would have noticed it straight away, and I feel that I did, and I would have laid every penny I earned this year on there being somebody in here, and I looked sharply to my right, and lo and behold, there wasn't. Explain that, I double dare you. Arsenal scored 3 goals in 5 minutes. Were Liverpool still in the changing room? How did that happen? That's a team that is not known or is not famous for its grit, its determination to fight back from behind. They were 2-0 down and they scored 3 goals in 5 minutes. Jurgen will be spitting, I bet. This evening I'd like to do the heroes and villains of the year. And the rules of the game are that there are no rules. These are your heroes and villains of the year, and they don't actually have to be anybody that we know. It could be just like your neighbour, but there would have to be an explanation. You can't just call in and say, well, it's Jeff. You would have to tell me why, or indicate why on a text or tweet or email or whatever it is that kids do instead of talking to each other these days. So your heroes and villains of the year, please. The A to Z, which is an excellent, it's the best idea, in fact it's the only idea I've ever had, and thereby by default becomes the best idea that I've ever had. The A to Z of the year starts on Sunday, which I believe is Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve will start and it will run until New Year's Eve, and then it'll be a whole new year, and there'll be just plenty of other stuff to talk about, like I don't know, Brexit, Donald Trump. I'm sure that next year will be much like this year as far as the news goes. But as far as this evening goes, I would like your heroes and villains of the year. And it could be somebody that has been in the news. It could be somebody that you know personally. There's a story that goes with it. I will leave it up to you. The heroes and villains of the year this evening, please. But Boris Johnson has been, I think that he has chosen his villain of the year, and it fairly much coincides with what I think. I'm going to pick, well, I won't put words into his mouth. He has, he's perfectly capable of saying stupid things without me inserting words into his mouth. But by his actions, it appears as though he regards Russia as an enemy, as a villain. And I think as far as their influence has gone this year, I put them in that category too. Experts say that Twitter accounts link... Oh, I know, nobody's remotely interested in what experts say anymore, but just bear with me. I'm not talking about people who don't know anything. I'm talking about experts. Experts say that Twitter accounts linked to Russia were used to incite anger and foster discontent in this country. And you don't have to be an expert to spot anger and discontent in this country. It's everywhere. And that was me thinking it was just our general mean, just the way we are, how proudly furious we are to be British. But it turns out it was Vlad the Insaner's fault all along. No! If it wasn't for him and his Muscovite meddling, we Brits would be cheerful and happy and gay. All right. content and thankful and glad. Morose and maudlin and miserable. People with giant brains at Cardiff University analysed 30 million pieces of data from social media. How did they do that then? 30 million? All right, I'll play along. And they found at least 47 accounts dedicated to systematic interference with public debate. Because they come over here, sowing discord. 8 accounts that were particularly active apparently posted 475 messages about the terrorist attacks that took place this last year at Westminster Bridge, Manchester Arena, London Bridge and Finsbury Park. Now, it would be easy to whip up emotions around those events, and lo and behold, it proved to be correct. The research found that a major component of the campaigns was the use of these accounts as sock puppets. Now, in this regard, sock puppets aren't Sooty and Sweep. Sooty is, as you know, on remand for burglary, and Sweep is facing historical abuse allegations like everybody else from my childhood diet of television. I'd like to go back in time and decide again what I would like to watch as a child. Although one particular individual I never felt comfortable being in the same room as. I mean, as far as somebody who is on television is in your room. I never felt comfortable watching him. He always looked a bit weird to me. I didn't know why as a child. I just felt a bit discombobulated by his, everything about him. His voice and his clothes and his blooming cigar and his jewellery and everything. Anyway. Research found that a major component of the campaigns, these 475 particularly active accounts posting messages, trying to sow discord and discontent and get people at each other's throats, were sock puppet accounts. Now, what that means in this regard is they would supply arguments to both sides of the debate. Well, it's not a debate, really. It was a screaming match. So they didn't just say, oh, no, it isn't. They said, oh, no, it isn't, and, oh, yes, it is. And, of course, both sides would then retweet these arguments, and pretty soon we have the entire country screaming at each other. And that was the defining theme of 2017. The entire country screaming at each other. Along with whatever demented thing Donald Trump did on a daily basis. Cardiff University, at their Crime and Security Research Institute, Professor Martin said, terrorist violence is fundamentally designed to terrorise, mobilise and polarise its audiences. He says the evidence suggests a systematic, strategic political communications campaign being directed at the UK designed to amplify the public harms of terrorist attacks. In other words, to get us all sow discord and discontent. You'd hardly think we need much help in that regard. We seem permanently on the edge of being discontent. Fairly itching for discord we are. Social media platforms have been weaponised, apparently, and the Russians are in the frame for it. The accounts often attracted considerable support. One tweet saying, another day, another Muslim terrorist attack. Retweet if you think that Islam needs to be banned right now. That was retweeted over 3,000 times after it was posted an hour after the Manchester bombing. Just look at any article on the Mail Online website and you'll see that furious people leave messages, presumably by bashing their keyboards with their fists, taking the most unhinged positions on any story. And the Russians probably looked at that and thought, well, there won't be much effort required here. We'll light the blue touch paper and retire. I mean, if they print, I swear, just go to the bottom of any story on the Mail Online. If they print a picture of a cute puppy dog enjoying its first experience of snow, prepare yourself. Cast your eyes to the bottom of the piece and people will be livid about it. They'll write, that puppy isn't cute. Why isn't it at work? Dalmatian, it should go back to where they come from. Coming over here, making our snow yellow, that puppy should kill itself. That sort of thing. There are loads of these messages trying to whip people up. And people don't need much to whip them up. We all seem to be permanently on the edge of our seats, desperate to take offence and get angry and start shouting. There's another bloke who's looked into this, Professor Anthony, an intelligence expert. Wow, can you imagine introducing yourself at a party? Not only am I intelligent, but I'm an intelligence expert. He's at the University of Buckingham. He told the Times it's self-evident they aim to confuse, to mobilise and radicalise public opinion, hoping to set off a chain reaction that could ultimately lead to violence on the streets and a breakdown of law and order. He says this goes way beyond a simple attempt to influence the way a person votes in an election. It shows how cyberspace is already a contested, dangerous space in which conflict is underway. Well, I maintain that cyberspace is actually a reflection of who we are. This, the thin veneer of civilization that we present to the world on a daily basis, that ain't us. That's smiling and nodding and, hello, how are you? That's not us at all. You want to know what people are really like? Go online. Have you seen the internet?
Disgusting.
Exactly. That's what we are actually like. When the cloak of respectability is taken away, we're a writhing, seething mess of ick and goo. So anyway, this professor says it shows that cyberspace is a dangerous space in which conflict is underway, and the Russians are apparently uppermost in fomenting distrust and hatred. And Boris Johnson wade right into this.
Oh, no.
Exactly. He's our chief diplomat. Can you believe that?
No.
And I'll tell you what he said about that when I come back in just a minute. Alan says, my heroes for 2017 are your good self and James O'Brien. We always get twinned in the same sentence, and it's usually said with venom and vigour. You and James O'Brien. It's usually like that. Anyway, he says, why? You brought the Grenfell Tower story on your show, kept this story going. I don't think I can take any credit for that. Villains, he says, well, the Orange Nightmare in the United States of America. He means you, Donny.
Like to punch him in the face.
As I mentioned before the news, it doesn't have to be anybody that we've even heard of. We've got a villain of the year that is your neighbour. Maybe your neighbour went out and bought one of those yappy dogs. Why would anybody want one of those? It's a mystery to me. I don't get it. But it could be anything at all. Glasgow. Hello, David.
Good evening, Nick.
David.
Please don't mention yapping dogs to my friend. He's having a terrible time with their neighbour's yapping dog just now, so...
Why do they do that? I mean, of all the dogs in the world, they pick the stupidest and the loudest. Why would you do that?
Yeah, well, hey, Merry Christmas.
Hey, Merry Christmas.
And I've got news for you.
Yes?
It's not raining in Glasgow.
Now, wait a minute. I'm going to have to check that because I've got an app.
No, don't bother. I just looked out the curtains about 10 minutes ago.
Well, that's what you say. 1 minute, please. It'll be raining at 3 in the morning.
Oh, you cynic.
And it'll be raining tomorrow from 3 in the afternoon for like continuously all the way through the night.
Actually, you're bang on. 3 o'clock is when it is scheduled to get a bit damp.
That's right. And then it's going to be all through Saturday, all through Sunday.
No.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Intermittent.
Monday morning. Tuesday.
You've probably got a Met Office forecast up on
yeah, I know. What do they know about the weather? So I think there's a brief period, Tuesday and Wednesday, and maybe Thursday, where it won't be raining.
Well, by that time, people are probably looking for a bit of a wash anyway, aren't they?
Well, yeah, just stand outside.
Following on from your Russian thing, Boris and Sergei didn't really seem to hit it off big time, did they?
His hair guy? Boris Johnson has a man that does his hair? I very much doubt it.
I love the comment that, not that it's stage managed or he works on his image, but he's heard or apparently been seen to ruffle his hair just before he walks on stage.
Yeah, well, he does. I've seen him do that regularly. He must look in the mirror before he leaves his palatial mansion.
Am I dishevelled enough?
And yeah, exactly, and dishevel himself just so that he can keep up the image. They keep up the image of a man who doesn't care what he looks like, but he looks to me like a man who cares deeply what he looks like.
Well, incidentally, my friend's come up with he's dropped the orange thing from a friend in the States. He's now known as the Terrible Tangerine.
Really? I call him Ancient Orange. I actually came up with that myself. I didn't steal that from anybody. That was me, that was. Ancient Orange, and I haven't heard it from anywhere. Just as dangerous, just as
2017.
Yeah, just as dangerous as that stuff they used to drop on Vietnam. Anyway, yes, David.
Yeah, indeed. I have to say, with a
heavy heart,
because I'm a Remainer, or Ramona, as they say down. Not so much up here, because 62% of people vote.
Yeah, that's right.
Up here, every single local authority. But nonetheless, I was rather angry with the lack of response to I don't know the best way to describe it, the utter thuggery employed by the Spanish state police on October the 1st in Catalonia.
Yes.
There were deafening silence which ensued that vote. Nobody would come out and condemn it.
Yeah, it was an odd vote, though. Only the people that wanted Catalonia to separate went out to vote. And that's why the vote was so overwhelming, is because the people who wanted to stay didn't think that the vote was valid, so they didn't bother leaving the house. Isn't that correct?
I understand that, Nick, but that in no way actually
No.
condones anything that happened in terms of the violence.
Yeah.
For the sake.
It was extraordinary. And it was...
a woman being dragged by her hair.
Yeah. Well, it was weird for it to see it in a European country.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
If it happened in the I don't know.
Well, that's why I'm nominating them as villains of the peace, because they're European. They're meant to be. Actually, I don't know who I should actually nominate: Guy Verhofstadt or the entire EU. Who do you think?
Well, our politicians didn't cover themselves in glory in this regard.
They were even quieter. And I know the reason for that, but I'm not going there.
Okay.
I think you do too.
Why?
It would take too long.
Okay. Well, we've only got a 3-hour show. All right. Okay, good work. I'll note that down, and well, I won't note it down at all.
No, you won't.
I'll just try and remember it.
You have a very good Happy New Year to you.
And the same to you. Thanks a lot, David. Whatever happened to peace, love and understanding? Why can't people just get along? Derek says, Hero, the unknown Twitter employee who disconnected Trump's Twitter feed for 11 minutes. 11 beautiful minutes. He said he should be awarded the Nobel Peace and Quiet Prize. Well, he did make by his actions, he did make the point that Donald Trump is not a nice person.
Donald Trump is a very nice person.
And he was wrong in that regard. There you are, corrected. Donald Trump woke up and said,
"What the hell is going on?"
Every day he does something that you think, we've normalized his behavior now. You just think, oh, that's just Donald Trump. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Put anything he says in the mouth of any other world leader, and you'd think that they'd lost their minds. But because it's Donald Trump, you just think, oh, well, that's just him. But can you believe that he's the President of the United States of America?
I'm president. Can you believe it?
See, he can't even believe it. Phil says, my villains of the year are the team behind the new Star Wars film, which was dreadful and really bad. Huh. Yeah, I went to see the new Star Wars film. I had a whole incident in trying to go see the new Star Wars film. You know, when you go to the cinema now and there isn't anybody there. No human being is being employed by the cinemas these days, presumably because they cost too much. And so you are serviced by a robot.
Correct.
By which I mean not serviced at all. not serviced exactly, because that implies something else. Not serviced, served. Yes, I was not served by a robot. Buy your tickets here, it says. Simply avail yourself of our touch-screen technology. Ugh, they don't work. And it wasn't just me. It wasn't just me being stupid, because the people next to me, they couldn't figure it out either. I think they gave up and left the building. Oh, the hell with it. Let's just go and have a pizza. And I'm pressing, and would you like one ticket or a 6? And would you like... and I wanted to go to the one that had just started. Not the actual film that had started, but, it was 2:15. I like to go early when there's nobody there. It was 2:15, and I arrived promptly at 2:30, knowing there'd be about half an hour of interminable adverts before the film starts. And it would not let me buy the one that had just started, the one that was busy playing adverts. It had moved on to the next one, but I didn't want the next one. I wanted the one at 2:15. And would it let me get it?
No.
No. That's not service. That's not service. And so I eventually gave up, and I went upstairs to try and find an actual real-life human being. And could I find one?
Negative.
It's excruciating. And so I sat down. I'm sitting in the foyer of the cinema that I want to go and see a film at, and I had to buy a ticket on my mobile phone on the internet, because otherwise it wouldn't let me buy it for the actual screening they want to go and see. Oh, and of course, then it charged me a 75p booking fee. I actually arrived there at the venue, and I still had to pay a booking fee to buy a ticket to go in to see a film that had already was just about to start. That is not service. That is not service. And as all this was going on, I thought, it'll be completely safe, and there won't be anybody there at all. And I'd looked online to make sure that none of the seats were already booked, and I was going to be in there on my own. Oh, how fantastic! And then, as I was buying my tickets, approximately, and this is not an exaggeration, 200 10-year-olds came down the escalators.
Oh no!
Screaming and screaming and screaming. They just kept coming and coming and coming. It took them about 3 minutes to come down the escalators. This small child riot, and I thought, oh no! You imagine getting stuck in a cinema with that lot. Oh, and the film itself?
I hate it!
I thought, there's no way. When I came out of that, I thought, there's no way those children would sit still through the new Star Wars film. So maybe they were going to see the new Paddington film. Oh, by the way, spoiler alert, Paddington gets shot at the end. Oh, sorry, I gave that one away. Donna says her heroes are the firemen that ran towards Grenfell Tower. The villains are those named in the Paradise Papers. Exactly. No! Those people draining the money out of society so for it to sit in some sterile office that doesn't have anybody working there. Just numbers on a screen, where it'll do good. Wanstead. Hello, Sophie.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
Please speak directly into the phone, Sophie.
Oh, sorry. Are you receiving?
Yes, I am. Broadsword to Danny Boy. Broadsword calling Danny Boy, over.
It's not been a Good Friday, so...
It's not been a Good Friday, but haven't you broken... you're a teacher, right?
Learning support, I work in a school. I did my teacher training 3 years ago, but I'm not teaching. No, that's a long story.
Is it? Okay.
I was laughing when you talked about the children at the cinema. Imagine what it's like being stuck with 30 every day. Day in, day out.
No, well, they were... I'm not kidding. It took about 3 minutes for them to all come down this escalator. I didn't think they were ever going to stop. It was like all of the children of the world had been compacted into this cinema. And can you imagine sitting in that cinema and thinking, just before the movie starts, it's completely empty. You think, oh, the luxury. There won't be anybody rustling popcorn or slurping their drinks or chatting to each other or using their phone or any of that stuff. And then suddenly, just before the film arrives, the film comes on, 200 children descend on the place and sit around you screaming and shouting and all the rest of it. Oh, what a nightmare that must have been.
I seem to bump into a lot of my old students in Westfield, and although I try to avoid that place like the plague.
Westfield?
And I remember one...
What's wrong with Westfield?
I seem to bump into a lot of my students.
Oh, right, okay,
Well,
that's a good reason not to go, yeah.
No, that's the good reason to go, but it's just chaotic and madness, and it's always so busy. So
Yeah, well, at this
that's
time of
the
year, I would imagine so.
Right.
Yeah. They'll really be in trouble if they're not chaotic and busy at this time of year.
Well, I think I really, really do wonder about people who just go into a buying frenzy at Christmas.
Yeah.
And I think, just feel blessed. You've got your family, you've got your friends.
Are you kidding? That's not what Christmas is about. Christmas is about buying stuff you don't need and giving it to people that don't want it with money that you haven't got.
Exactly that. And I just don't think that people understand that you will not find your happiness in the latest mobile phone or tablet.
Well,
or
briefly, you'll find a brief period of happiness with whatever you buy. It's those happiness chemicals that start squirting about your brain. They do, and those chemicals dissipate by the time you've got that thing home, and then you need another hit.
They need to find another way to get instant gratification that doesn't involve
Buying,
material things.
Yeah.
So I just really, really wonder. It's just a nonsense. It's just a complete and utter nonsense. And
People of the world, stop shopping and take up, I don't know, heroin, knitting. Just pick something else.
Be grateful for what you have. I think that's the first principle that people need to remember. Be grateful.
But if people were just grateful for what they had, if people were just satisfied with their lot, then, well, for a start, the economy would tank instantly. And second, us being not satisfied with what we got is what's got us to the position that we're in. We are number one. We bestride the world. We can affect the planet like no other inhabitant of this flat Earth.
And we have our blue passports back.
Oh. You know what the bizarre thing about that is? Well, maybe I'll get to that in a while. The really bizarre thing about the blue passports. Did you hear about that?
No.
Right. Well,
that we could have kept them anyway.
Yes.
Is that the bizarre thing?
That's the bizarre thing about it. It wasn't the evil EU that insisted that our passports became burgundy. We could have kept them anyway. Other countries in Europe kept their own special, unique colour. We could have had any blooming colour we want.
I know you've already said that you're always lumped in with James O'Brien, and you're both good for different reasons. But you're my favourite, Nick.
Oh, thanks a lot, Sophie.
But he did an interesting chat about it this morning.
Yes.
And
Yes.
he just didn't understand the blue passport.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
He just didn't understand why it was so important, and I don't think you need to go to the legalistic and the political thing. I think you just need to go to the human condition. It's like, coming out of a bad relationship, you think, take that, and if Britain, they get their blue passports because that makes them feel better, take that, EU, we've got our blue passports back.
Yeah, I tell you what, if you're excited by the return of the blue passport, then almost by definition you should not have been able to vote in the previous referendum, because you aren't thinking clearly about this. What blooming difference does it make what colour your passport is? How often do you look at the cover of your passport? You don't use it hardly at all. I can't remember the last time I used my passport. It was years and years ago. And the only time you do actually look at it is you pull it out of your pocket to proffer to a man and hope that he doesn't look at it too long, that he just slides it back at you and you put it back in your pocket and go and collect your bags. And by the way, I remember our old British passport. I think they made it out of concrete. You couldn't keep it in your back pocket, because if you did, you'd give yourself a hernia if you sat down.
It was huge, and I remember my dad had a special beautiful suitcase to keep all the children's passports in.
What? How many children did he have? How big a family was it?
6.
6? Wow.
And he used to have this brown, really beautiful case, and he used to keep all our passports in this, and they were huge. But the thing is, even whether it's blue, pink, orange, or yellow, the country will still be a mess. So, and the other thing is that I know I don't understand the frenzy about the blue, but there are things, symbols, and colours that we come together under, and it is a national pride sort of thing, I suppose. You know, the flag, the national anthem, the blue passport. So it's all about human psychology. You know, if it's a football team you support, if you're an Arsenal fan, you're under the colour red. Do you see what I mean? It's symbolic. I'm not saying I agree.
Yeah. But what does it symbolise? It symbolises some fantastical era that never existed, known as the good old days. People's idea of the good old days is an era that never actually was, when you could leave your door open and no one would nick your stuff. Yeah, right. That's because nobody nicked your stuff because nobody had anything. You didn't have a video recorder that people could half-inch, and nobody had any jewellery. Certainly nobody that left their door open had any jewellery. The only people that left their door open at any period in history was because they would gladly have somebody come and take their stuff away, because otherwise they'd have to pay somebody to do it. What rubbish! Anyway, who's your hero? That's not what you called. Not according to my screen, anyway.
My heroes, my 2 heroes. I'm sure if I sat down, but I'm doing this off the top of my head. The first one has to be Robert Mueller.
Robert Mueller.
And the ex-FBI man who's investigating.
He looks like the American eagle. He looks like a cartoon image of the American eagle. Look at him next time you see him, and he does have a face like an eagle. He looks the very embodiment of Uncle Sam.
He looks like my professor from when I did my masters. He really, Professor McDowell. Hello, Professor McDowell.
Right. Well, see, that's the kind of reference that we won't get. We'll just have to take your word for it.
No, he's a very nice man.
Oh yeah, I'm sure of it. I love his work.
But I think he's my hero, and the other hero is it Terry McAuliffe, the governor of Virginia, the one who made who gave the go home speech when the riots were happening in America, and unfortunately that lady was killed.
Right.
Yeah, so I think he's one of my heroes. And basically anyone who speaks consciously or subconsciously or inadvertently, makes inference to the bad things that Trump is doing. Absolutely every one of those people is my hero. Oh, also Alec Baldwin, who does the Trump send-up on Saturday Night Live, which is just absolutely a masterpiece. But my villain, who I've just thought of, is that annoying Scottish nightmare, Nicola Sturgeon, who is a complete and utter hypocrite. Because now I'm not saying which way I voted, because you're going to tell me off. But she wants.
I'm not going to tell you off. I don't care how, unless you didn't vote at all. I'm not going to tell you off.
I did, but she wants Scottish independence.
Yeah.
But she's criticising England for wanting, or Britain for wanting independence from the EU.
Well, I'm not sure that's a fair summation of her position. I think that Scotland voted in, and yet they're being dragged out by the old enemy, as in us.
But she's using it as leverage to get another vote about whether Scotland should have. I mean, please, Scotland, if you want to go, take your shortbread and go. Please, your black pudding and your shortbread and go.
You can't survive on shortbread. You have to have Embra Rock too. All right, thanks a lot, Sophie. Cheers, my dear. Oh, by the way, talking about Alec Baldwin's impersonation of the Orange Nightmare. Somebody sent me a video on Facebook, and I know I'm a bit late with this because apparently 16 million people have seen this before me, but it is one of the funniest Donald Trump impressions that I've ever seen. And it's him in what looks like a nursery school, and he's bouncing around on a space hopper. And then Mike Pence comes in and tells him that he has to have, he's got an appointment as he's got to be more presidential, and he's got to go and speak to the delegate from Venezuela or something like that. And Donald Trump freaks out, he throws himself on the floor and has a total tantrum. It's too funny. He's acting like a baby, just as you would expect the Donny to do. Hello, Mohammed.
Good evening, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for being my distraction from my revision.
What are you revising for?
My masters. I've got my exams coming up in January.
But what subject?
In counter-terrorism.
You're studying counter-terrorism?
I am, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with that?
I'm so happy at the moment in my current job, working in the financial legal sector. So I kind of did it because I won a scholarship, and also at the same time I enjoy studying like the psychology behind all of those kind of that area. But I don't know if I'm going to pursue a career in it just yet.
Is that because you can earn more being a part of the banking racket?
Exactly. No, but it's true, unfortunately.
The banking racket is draining the society of its best brains just with the lure of lucre. All of these people that are...
Brexit people for that.
Well, no, that's got nothing to do with it. It's all of these banks who are just waving vast wads of cash in front of these bright minds who would be perhaps bending their intelligence to solving some of the problems of the world, like hunger, and they would be maybe designing algorithms that would be for the benefit of mankind. But no, what they're actually doing is spending all day long staring at a computer screen so already rich people can just make more billions of pounds.
Well, on that point is sometimes I do wonder, I think to myself, oh my gosh, I'm making so much more money than some other people who are actively moving, working. I think I work hard though. I deliver to my clients.
Do you actually enjoy it though? I mean, it doesn't look enjoyable at all. It looks like you're being used like a machine, like a calculator, and could be replaced by a robot at a moment's notice.
Correct.
It's interesting you say that, because I was thinking about doing a PhD part-time, and I'm thinking about looking at automation and the impact on the labour market, and I think that would be quite an interesting area too.
Yeah, well, by the time you've got your PhD, no one will have a job anymore.
Possibly, but no, I like it. It gives me a good lifestyle. I like working in the financial legal sector.
Okay, then.
So it's all good. So I want to share my villain and hero, but before I do, can I ask you one question?
Yes.
In Star Wars, rather. One thing that I just thought was just so cringeworthy was that evil guy who happens to know what everything I forgot what his name is, but the one that's supposed to be like Mr. Junior Darth Vader.
Yeah.
The very ugly face.
Yes.
That one.
Why they picked him, I've got no idea. I mean, if ever there was a guy, I mean this in the nicest possible way, but if ever there was a guy who needed a face mask.
Exactly, yeah, I agree. He's just so strange looking.
Well, I suppose if they made him, if it was Matt Damon or someone good looking, then you wouldn't think that they had the potential to be evil. I suppose you've got to be a bit odd.
It's true, but at the same time, why him?
But they all look odd. I found that all of the people that they'd chosen to be in the new Star Wars, apart from the girl.
Oh, please don't get me started. Me and my friends were talking about that, and I'm anything but a feminist, and they're saying to me, "Oh, it's so great. There's a lead as a woman." I'm like, I actually don't mind whether it is or not, but the fact that you're making a point of it is just annoying me.
Well, I think it's justified to make a point of it, because I think that she is by far the best thing about the new Star Wars trilogy. She is properly great.
Yeah, she's good looking, so okay.
Yeah, she's good looking, and she looks like she can fight. So,
well, this was my question. When in that final fight scene?
Well, no. Stop.
Oh no,
that sounds like a spoiler alert in the making. No, we're not going to talk about no final anything.
Warning!
Okay.
The last Star Wars was ruined for me before I even saw it by an unfortunate spoiler alert incident that happened on the air. So I'm not going to do that to anybody. Almost nobody's seen that film yet. Plus, they're probably advertising with us, and if they found out that I gave out a spoiler alert, I'd be up for the high jump.
I just found it very average. Very average. It lacks the charisma of the other films, and I think they were trying to attempt a bit too much of the nostalgia.
Well, you know what?
What
Occurred to me much of the way through it was because a lot of it was filmed in Ireland, and I was looking at it thinking, well, this just looks like they're in Ireland. You know, you look at Star Wars, and I want. Wait a minute! I want outer space. That was the thing about the first one, which was the fourth one. I know it gets very confusing, but the first Star Wars film, much of it was, it was all. I was about to say much of it was shot on Earth, but it was all shot outside somewhere, and it all looked like outer space. The desert looked like it wasn't earthbound, and it all looked of somewhere else. But when they were in Ireland, and they were in Ireland for ages, I just was looking at it thinking, well, they're just in Ireland. This isn't space.
Maybe because you can identify with the geography of it more, and that's why. But for example, Tatooine, that just reminds me of the deserts of Saudi Arabia. Yeah. To be honest.
Well, I haven't been there, but it's because it was featureless and did look alien to my experience. Outside of my personal experience, then it could easily have been on another planet.
That's a fair point.
Whereas when they were in Ireland, it just looked like, well, I don't have to get into a spaceship to find that place. I can just get on a boat.
Just outside Dublin on the outskirts.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a valid point you make, actually. So yeah,
thank you.
It was very average.
It very much depends on what kind of mood you were in. Maybe I was just in the wrong mood, but I came out of it thinking, meh.
No, the one film that I was dying was it Blade Runner? I can't remember now.
Oh my God, Blade Runner. There's another one. Those are the two films that I actually paid money to go and see at the cinema this year.
Boring!
Blade Runner was excruciating.
I agree. And what annoys me the most is when people try to argue that it was good and you say to them, well, what was good about it?
Every single review said the same, that it was the most beautiful film you were ever going to see, and it was deep, and it was psychologically worthy, and oh my God, it wasn't. It was as though the director bought a camera and said, "I'm just going to point it at Ryan Gosling looking wistfully into the distance for 2 hours."
It's true.
It was painful.
It's true. Yeah, there was. I mean, even I absolutely love Harrison Ford, but even I thought, actually, do you know what? If anything, he saved it a little bit. Well, even though it's such a dire film.
The only thing that really struck me about that film was, Harrison Ford, how old is he? He's like 150 years old now. He looks fantastic. I'll have a couple of pints of what he's on.
Yeah, exactly right. But no, it was such a dire film. I agree with you. I just felt like my life was wasting away. And
with the two films together, there's 5 hours I won't get back.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not why you called.
So, my heroes and villains. So I'll start off with, which one would you prefer me to start with?
Hero.
Hero or the villain? Okay,
Hero.
The hero. I've forgotten his name now. It was Mr. Dance, the Labour MP who put up the poster saying he's lying to Nigel Farage. I've never laughed so much in my life.
That was priceless. This is in June, but this was last year, not this year.
No, it was this year.
No, wait. No, it was early this year. That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Spence. I've forgotten his name now.
It was Seb Dance.
Seb Dance, that's the one. But when I've just thought, wow, how quick off the mark was he? When they showed the footage around the court area, I was wondering, did people realise what he was saying, or do they not read English either? I just didn't know, but I just found it hilarious.
He was sitting in shot behind our Nigel, as Nigel was banging on about how dreadful and awful the EU is, and but thanks for all the money and the pension and the expenses,
right?
and etc. and so on. Seb Dard's an MEP for somewhere in London, isn't he? London
he got crucified on the Andy Marr show when he was off.
I'm sure, and he held up a sign with an arrow pointing at Nigel Farage, which said he's lying.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Everybody's got to YouTube that.
Right.
So I think that would be my hero for the year, because that guy, I'm very disappointed in Nigel. I just think he's one of those people who will say, "Oh, don't you miss the good old days?" And the way me and my agent Mays read that is the Enoch Power days.
When you weren't here. But anyway, who's your villain?
So my villain is Benjamin Netanyahu, because of the treatment of the Palestinians. I think the Israelis have been treating them very poorly, but the good that's come out of his villainness has brought the world together. Sorry, I live in Central, so you can hear the police.
Well, the strangest thing about Benjamin Netanyahu is that the last two syllables of his name are Yahoo. He's the least appropriate person I can think of for that to be the case. Thanks a lot, Mohammed. I got to go, because here comes the new news, some of which I'm sure will be good. Fingers crossed. Here's hoping. On not tomorrow, but on Sunday, when I start the big, I suppose I've started it now, this long sweep of shows that goes over right into the new year, I'll start the A to Z on Sunday, which is Christmas Eve. I think I've got that right. Christmas Eve will start the A to Z, which is I take a letter of the alphabet at random, in order, and assign an hour to each, and then people will call in with something or event or person that pertains to this last year, by which method we'll construct the definitive list of the year. I've been doing this for quite a few years now, and I think you'll find it excellent fun. Let's start this out in Carnforth. Oh, Annie.
Oh, hi, Nick.
Hey, Chuck.
Yep. Where to start with villains? There's just so many villains around at the moment, but I think definitely, obviously the most predictable one, but it just has to be Trump, because he's not just a sort of threat to the American people, he's a threat to the whole world, and he has been doing.
What on earth makes you say that?
I'll bring us into war.
Apart from that.
Well, I was going to say three things that he's done that have been particularly awful, out of all the awful things that he's been doing all year. Was firstly the pulling out of the Paris climate change agreement, which obviously threatens the whole world. Secondly was ratcheting up the tension between America and North Korea to the point of insanity, really. Fortunately, that seems to have calmed down a bit at the moment.
No, it doesn't. The opposite is the case. North Korea is absolutely furious, and the UN is ratcheting up the sanctions, egged on by America, and it's going to be it's a touch and go whether we make it into the new year.
Oh, God. You really cheered me up now, Nick. I thought it was just all calmed down a bit, but, so yes, the power he has, and considering how completely insane he is, it's terrifying, really. So there's that, and also the one of the latest things, which has had horrendous effects already, was recognising Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. there have already been quite a few Palestinians killed in riots since then, and it was like just throwing a firebomb into a tinder-dry forest during a drought.
Yes, but I think, does it not occur to you that Donald Trump actually doesn't care about any of these things? That the only thing that Donald Trump actually cares about is Donald Trump, and how he looks, and how people are praising him, and how marvellous is his orange magnificence. All of these things that he keeps throwing out, and you think, what? About the climate change thing, and about allowing removing the restriction on car manufacturers in America to make their cars economical, to not produce too much pollution and use too much petrol. He's taken those restrictions away to allow coal companies to pour poison directly into rivers, to allow financial advisors to advise you something that is not in your interests, to actively act against your interests when you go to a financial advisor. That's okay now. All of these things they sort of fall down into one or two camps. And you know, the whole the insanity of America's gun laws allowing that, and every time there's a mass shooting, it's always not the right time to talk about it. You know, we must respect the dead. Right. It's either one of two things. Either it's payback from the people that gave him a lot of money in order to run, because it cost them like $1 billion to become the president, all the advertising that you have to do, or they're distraction devices. You can't let transgender people use the toilet of their choice. He doesn't care about that. He just chucks that out the window, and the press will go berserk. Sicking on that bone, and he meanwhile carries on into the distance, and when they've finished bothering themselves about that thing, they'll just chuck another one out the window, and they're all distractions.
Yeah, they are, but I think I do agree with you about the billionaire thing. I mean, he is. I mean, being a billionaire himself, and all his mates probably are as well, and in fact most of the people who he's put in his administration are as well. So, you know, there is that. He's definitely ruling on behalf of that extreme, ultra-wealthy class and big corporations.
Yeah, the donor class is what
yeah,
we call
definitely.
them. In other words, people who give money to him, political parties.
But also, I think a lot of the stuff he does, like the transgender stuff, and lots of stuff he's done, are actually just to appeal to his base as well. So he keeps having to throw them bones and things.
Yeah, I mean,
people who think he'll vote for him. I think that's partly why the Israel thing, because he wants to make sure that a lot of the Jewish voters in America vote for him as well, and also his son-in-law is Jewish, isn't he? But I think lots of the things he does, the hunting thing. There was something he did about hunting, wasn't there? I can't remember.
Well, yeah, it was. You can now take when you go out and bravely shoot an animal from a distance with a high-powered rifle, a hunter. Then you can bring the head back, whereas previously you couldn't. And I think it's okay to bring elephant tusks. Can you do that now? I don't know. But he couldn't care less about that either, you wouldn't think.
No, but there's a lot of people that like hunting, shooting and fishing, and probably have fantasies about having enough money to go and do that. You know what I mean? In America, there's a lot of things I think that he does just to appeal to his voters.
Yeah, weirdly to appeal to people who call themselves Christian fundamentalists, who seem to be the least. I mean, I don't know anything about religion. I'm not remotely interested, but they seem to be the least Christian people that you'll have ever heard of. They seem to be just riven with hatred for anybody that doesn't walk, talk and squawk exactly like them, which is not what Jesus would do, I wouldn't expect. In fact, if Jesus ever did come back... Oh, and by the way, happy birthday in a couple of days' time. If he did ever return, I think that the evangelical Christians would be first on his to smite list. But as I said, I don't know anything about religion, so don't listen to me.
No, I definitely think there's two kinds of Christians. There's the proper Christians that actually follow the teachings of Jesus, and there's the ones that prefer to carry on their lives according to the Old Testament, an eye for an eye and all the rest of it.
No, I don't think it's even that. I just think it's they use the excuse of religion in order to excuse. I can't think of another word for it, but excuse their hatred and general negative behaviour and stance on any given issue. That they just seem to be just not very nice. I thought that was the defining characteristic of Jesus, that he was supposed to be nice, and these people seem to be the opposite of that. But anyway. Well,
yeah, they're definitely not. No, definitely not. And I think another villain for me would be Harvey Weinstein, who, I don't think he's exceptional. I'm sure there's plenty of other abusers around
no end of them, apparently.
People on an industrial scale.
Yeah, barely a day goes by when another one doesn't pop out of the woodwork.
Yeah, but I think for this year, it probably has to be him. And for a hero, this is just me personally, because I'm a Labour Party member and a bit of a political anorak, but for me it has to be Jeremy Corbyn, because everybody said at the beginning of that election, oh God, the Tories said it, the media and all the political pundits said it, and even lots of the members of the parliamentary party, Labour Party, said that, God, we're all going to be wiped out. The Labour Party will be annihilated.
This bearded hippie who can barely make his way out of his own front door for that catastrophe of a front garden he's got. He's going to be running the party and potentially running the country. I don't think so, they said as one. And guess what? It's entirely likely he's going to be our next Prime Minister.
Well, exactly, and he did prove them wrong. I mean, admittedly, Labour didn't win, but considering how far behind Labour was at the beginning...
I think they can count that as a win.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't actually win, but then Donald Trump didn't actually win the popular vote, and Jezza didn't win the popular vote either, but I think that you can call that a win. Just like Donald Trump would call even his most massive failures a win.
I've been successful in every business I've been in.
I think one of the important things too is that that Labour did manage to take the Tories' majority off them as well, which puts them in a much weaker position. So because certainly as a disabled person, I think they had all sorts of horrible plans, which actually I think they still have, to do more cuts to disability benefits, but I think they'll have trouble getting that kind of thing through Parliament, or anything else very controversial.
Yeah, much more difficult, exactly. How's that snap election working out for you, Mrs M?
Fabulous.
Makes you wonder why she's still bothering to do the job. I would give it up and enjoy your retirement.
I think nobody else wants it at the moment, do they?
I don't know. If you threw that up in the air, I think that people would be clawing over each other to get it, and Bozo of the FO would be right there in there.
I don't think he wants it until the end, till Brexit, until actually we've left, because if it all goes pear-shaped, none of them want to be blamed for it, do they? Even though, of course, it is people like Boris and David Davis. David Davis would be another villain for me, because he's just so utterly incompetent.
Well, there was something that came out today that underlines that thought, but not necessarily of him personally, but the department that he's running seems to be in absolute shambles. But I'll get onto that maybe in a while. Thanks a lot, Annie, and top of the season to you. If they're just a hero or villain in your life, then let me know and I'll get you on the air. Sandy says, my villain is Stephanie, who didn't get the paperwork done so that we could exchange contracts on a house purchase today. Oh. Now she has to wait for nearly 2 weeks before they get back to work. Oh, that must be well, I know it's excruciating. I've been through that before. And for every minute of those 2 weeks, you'll assume that it's not going to happen. That someone will come in and usurp you. What do they call it? Not usurping. They call it, when somebody comes in and nicks your house off you. What do they call that? Gazumping. Hey, I better got that right. Yeah, Stephanie didn't get the paperwork done. Boo, Stephanie. Boo! Yeah, thanks a lot, Stephanie. Here's calling St John's Wood. Oh, Jonty.
Nick, how's it going?
Good, thanks.
I've got a hero for you.
Yes, sir.
Donald Trump.
Okay. Go ahead.
Because he's the only moron who comes up with the most stupid things that distract us from Brexit.
Well, there is that. If it had been Hillary that won, then it would have been a pretty boring year.
Boring. Yeah. You have to have Trump, because otherwise we'd all go insane with the Brexit in banality.
It does make it. I mean, I do find that I go to the phone the first thing in the morning just to see what he's done lately, whereas I wouldn't be doing that if it weren't him.
He's the ultimate entertainment show. Unfortunately, he's got the nuclear button in his hand, but that makes it even more entertaining.
It's not
you don't know if you're going to wake up in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a reality show, it's reality.
I'm surprised he didn't go for Jerusalem as being capital of North Korea or something really outlandish like that. Wake up one morning, hey guys, this is what I think. Let's make Jerusalem the capital of North Korea, and then that will solve the problem.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah, let's make it all happen. Donald. Do you know what his name means in German? His original name.
Or
his
Drumpf.
family name.
Drumpf.
Fart.
Well, does Drumpf mean fart?
Yes.
Does it?
Yeah.
Trump. I mean, well, Trumpety
It was
Trump.
Drump. It was Drump originally.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, that fits right in.
He's living up to his name.
Yeah, there's a lot of hot air that you don't want to be around. No, you wouldn't.
Is there anything he's done that you think is good, Nick? Come on. There's got to be good in everyone.
Well, he did it for all the wrong reasons, but the corporate tax rate in America did seem a bit high, didn't it? I mean, our corporate tax rate's 20%. In America...
I know, but I dug into that because I've got American friends who own businesses.
Yeah.
And actually, that headline rate was a complete...
fallacy.
It's actually not... Yeah, there's so many set-offs. The actual real tax rate that they actually pay is about 13%.
Right. Well, I know that
so the headline is 35, the real is 13, so that was bullshit.
And that's for the corporations that actually pay tax. You know, most of the big ones, they, as we know, famously don't pay any tax at all.
But it's kind of like voluntary. Oh, yeah, if I feel like it.
Exactly, which is why...
but he is simplifying. I think he is simplifying the tax code, which is probably a good thing.
No, he isn't simplifying it. Apparently, what he's done is make the loopholes ever more numerous and large for corporations and billionaires. People with the wherewithal to hire bright accountants are going to have a field day, which is exactly what you would expect.
Yeah. Hey, do you think he's going to come over on a state visit? Are you going to be there with your flag waving?
Yes and no in that order. No. I mean, it would be entertaining to show up, but I mean, if I had to...
It'd be great. I would love to have him over. It would just there'd be no for the whole week he's here, you wouldn't hear Brexit. It would be like Brexit disappeared.
Yeah, well, you're right about that, yeah. Okay, well, there's something to look forward to. Thanks a lot, John. Yeah. I've mentioned this before. I was in the West End of London when George W. Bush came over.
Absolutely.
And I thought that we were under attack. Because you don't expect fighter planes to fly over the centre of town, and they did, and the noise that those things make is unbelievable. You could hear them from miles away, and when they all fly over in unison. So there would have been the Jumbo, and there was at least 2 or 3, maybe even 5 fighter jets that came in all at the same time. I've never heard a noise like it in my life. And so Donald Trump will want a bigger noise than that, to reflect his orange magnificence. So I would buy earplugs now. Zara says, my hero list is long but important. My husband, who I married 25 years ago tomorrow, he's such a support with my mental health issues. My sons and Josie, who is pregnant with our first grandchild, they're understanding and caring. Tallulah. Tallulah's the collie dog who protects us all. Everyone's a hero in my life. As for villains, I don't let them into my space. Wow, now there's a lesson for us all. We ain't going to take that lesson. Of course, we're going to, seek out things to get furious about. I mean, wouldn't it nice to be calm and serene at all times? To, just drift through life as though in a haze of loveliness. Groovy. Yeah, but we don't want that. We like our fury. Thanks, Zara. John says, my heroes are Majid Nawaz, England women's cricket team, and my pet chicken, whose name is Charlie. Pet chicken? Hey, there was one of my neighbours from just far enough away for it to be to seem romantic and bucolic. They bought a rooster. Is that what you call them? Male chicken persons? They bought a male chicken person because I don't think the hens go cock-a-doodle-doo, do they? Well, they got no. They don't have the first part or the doodle-doo either. And it was just, like I said, it was just far enough away to be, oh, that's nice. If it had been next door, then it would have been a nightmare. And maybe that's why maybe their neighbours actually took matters into their own hands. I don't know. But it was there all summer long, and then it stopped. But fox, perhaps. There's so many of them. Dagenham. Hello, Pat.
Oh, hello.
Pat.
Hello, Nick.
Yes, sir. Yes, Pat.
Right, I just call you. I think my pet
person not to like is Nigel Farage. I cannot stand that man. He is so full of himself, and I believe that he influenced a lot of people in the vote to leave Europe, which of course I didn't want to do, so I don't like him, no.
Right. Well, don't sit on the fence, Sir Pat. Tell us what you think.
I'm sick of Christmas, I really am.
Oh, come on, it hasn't even happened yet. How can you be sick of it? You should do what I do, Pat. I'm over Christmas. Christmas is in the past for me. I had my Christmas yesterday.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Just before I start this long stretch of shows, I always have my Christmas before it happens, and I feel a sense of smug satisfaction because everybody else is rushing around, pulling their hair out, going crazy, still buying food and presents and all, and I've done all of that. It's over for me.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I recommend it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's just a day after all.
It's all a bit silly, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, and on the day itself, if you've done the day already, then it's stress-free. You don't have to be worrying about getting the stuff in the oven and pulling it out and the bits of it burnt and you forgot to buy the cranberry sauce and can somebody go down the shop and the shops are all shut and, you know, all of that nightmare. You just...
I don't do any cooking at Christmas.
What?
And I don't cook anything. Most of the time, actually.
What do you have? A salad?
My daughter's doing Christmas Day for me.
Oh, right. Somebody else does the cooking?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Smart thinking.
A daughter in Dulwich, and she's doing the cooking. But she had a really bad accident this year. She was on holiday abroad somewhere, and she fell down the last step of stairs. And she fractured or broke a lot of bones in her foot.
God.
And her tendons, and she's been in a terrible state
from one step. It was just one step.
One step, yeah, just tripped on one step, and that was it. It just broke the foot into pieces, and they carried her into the hospital on a sunbed from the beach, which is quite funny.
Well, it's a casual way to arrive, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And she lives in Dulwich. She's lovely, really smashing.
Right,
girl.
how's she doing?
Getting better.
Right.
Getting better now.
It's remarkable what you can injure yourself on. I mean, the amount of people that hurt themselves in bed. I mean, I'm not talking about, you know, doing anything untoward.
Disgusting.
I mean, just like getting out of bed in the morning, you can injure yourself. Just getting up out of a chair is dangerous.
Yeah.
I recommend you don't do it, Pat.
Yeah, well, I've got anemia. I have to have drip of iron every couple of months, and I get tired, and I just like to have an ordinary routine. Otherwise, I get a bit stressed, you know.
Yeah. Well, you and me both.
Yeah, both of us.
I prefer to do nothing at all. How about you?
I would, yeah.
Yeah.
Just read a book.
Oh, just stare out the window would be fine by me.
Yeah, that's good.
Reading a book involves scanning your eyes left to right, which is, so exhausting.
Yeah, and then my friend, he was very ill, and I have to go around there every day to look after him. I'm like a carer. That has absolutely slayed me, killed me.
Well, it does take it out of you emotionally, yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's getting better now, so new year it'd be great.
I think there's a lot of people who can't wait to say goodbye to 2017.
No.
You know, 2017, if you look at it as a number, it's a bit angular and a bit jarring. It doesn't look nice as a number. Whereas, just try it right now. Write down 2018, and it's more round and warm and welcoming, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I've got.
We'll get warm and welcoming.
Well, we'll find out. I was about to say something negative, Pat, but then I stopped myself just before it happened. We'll find out. Maybe it will be a lot better.
Yeah.
It could hardly be a lot worse.
Well, I've got my flag wrapped round me, the stars from Europe. Well, not I've got it hanging on the wall.
Right. Well, it's a nice flag, and it probably looks lovely on the wall.
And there's so many evil people, you can say, who do you think's bad? But unfortunately, I can't think of anyone good, so...
Well, maybe somebody else can, and fill in the gaps. Margaret says, my heroes of the year are the doctors and nurses who have been looking after my husband in the Manchester Royal Infirmary after removing cancerous cells from his neck. We should remember the people who work for the NHS. Not all of them are angels, let's not kid ourselves, but some of them do deserve to be described in that manner. Some of them, the work they put in, and then the things that they have to do, apart from anything else. I mean, most people go to work and they don't have to, do all that stuff, and they don't have to. Well, let's not get into it. It's a little bit. It'll bring us down a bit, but I think they do deserve our gratitude and a bit more money. Wandsworth, hello, Marie.
Hello, Nick. My heroine of the year is Enable, and I sent her a Christmas card. Thank her very much.
It's who?
Enable. A racehorse.
A racehorse?
Yes. On the flats. Flat racehorse.
And it's a racehorse called Enable.
Enable. That's right.
That's a rubbish name for a horse.
Well, I don't think the Prince would like that very much to hear you say that, and to be honest, she's been so good this year. She's won every race, and to be honest, she's won me lots of money.
What? Which Prince?
Oh, Prince Khalid.
Oh, right.
He breeds all these racehorses and himself, and she's a mighty fine racehorse, I have to say, and she won the last race of the year was the Arc de Triomphe. And she was the only filly in the race, and she beat all those boys. She is a fabulous racehorse. So I sent her a Christmas card, and I directed Mr. Gosden, who's her trainer, to please put the card on her stable door. And it's a little horse wearing a Santa hat with goggly eyes, so, trying to look a lot like her. She's also chestnut. Well, I really had an eye for detail there.
It wasn't one of those cards covered in glitter, because a horse will probably eat it.
No, right. no glitter, but it did have goggly eyes, so I hope they don't let her eat those. And there was a packet of polos as well, and I said to her I was sorry for her that Frankie Dettori is always kissing her, and that he should stop doing that. It's not very nice.
Just to be clear, you did say kicking, not kissing.
Oh, he's always kissing her, not kicking her, no.
Kissing?
Because she wins, yes, kissing. When he wins, he rides her. When he wins, he always jumps off in that highly, sort of flamboyant manner, and then he kisses her all over. And I really just wish he wouldn't do that, because he should ask first, It's not nice. So, my villain of the year is Marlon.
Who?
Marlon.
Marlon?
Yes,
Marlon who?
He hasn't finished, he hasn't finished my kitchen. My kitchen is half finished.
Oh, no.
He's supposed to have been getting glass cuts for the splashbacks, and they don't fit. And he's supposed to have been putting a dishwasher in a certain place, and that didn't fit. Oh. And he endeavoured to blow up one of my radiators so that I had water all over the sitting room. And I'm now in complete chaos and unlikely to be cooking turkey on Christmas Day.
But apart from that, how's he been?
Fabulous. It's been 3 weeks of hell.
Well, that's what you get when you get your kitchen redone, Marie.
I hope he's listening.
Yeah.
3 weeks of hell, okay? And it isn't finished yet, because in January, of course, we've got to revisit the glass as to whether he's got that right this time.
That's if he...
frankly, I'm on the verge of a nervous breakdown.
Well, that's if he shows up in January, Marie.
Well, that's if he does, exactly. But I think he'll want to be paid, won't he?
Oh, well, if you kept the money back.
And he's not getting paid the rest of it until he sorts it out. Do you understand, me? Yeah, I think you do.
And listen to me carefully about this, Marie, because this is very important. Keep back 5% for snags.
I will.
Yeah,
don't worry.
Don't pay him the 100%. Pay him 95%, and then keep back the rest of it. And you know what he'll do when you give him the list of snags that he needs to correct to get that 5% back. No, that'll be the last time you hear from him.
I know
That's
that.
it's not my experience in all. There was one builder that I had doing like a lot of work for, and if only he was available in every location in the country, I'd use him again and again and again because he was brilliant.
He was good.
But
yeah.
other builders that I've had experience of are maybe they're that fella that you've got under different names. Maybe they're in disguise.
Are they picking on me, or do they generally muck it up?
Yeah.
Fail to do what they say they're going to do and actually create more chaos than was there before they came.
And they they leave all of their rubbish behind for you to collect. Yeah.
And
You're
filth
welcome.
and dust and everything, and don't tidy anything up, and it doesn't fit. Yeah. I just wish I had a neighbour here for Christmas, to be honest. I don't think she'd be a dream, but this man, he has driven me to the edge, to the absolute edge.
Right. Well, he sounds like a villain to me. Hey, Marlon. Yeah, we hate you. All right, thanks a lot, Marie.
Bye.
Ta-da. I would recommend a takeaway for Christmas. Villain of the year, says this message, my boss, who couldn't be bothered to come and shake hands with his staff and wishes a happy Christmas. Well, that depends on who your boss is. I mean, if you work for rank Xerox, then it's unreasonable to expect your boss to come around and shake everybody's hand. He wouldn't have any skin left. But if you work in on a garage forecourt, then that would be wrong if your boss did not come around and shake your hand. I mean, if you work for Esso, then you wouldn't expect your boss to come around and shake everybody's hand. But if you work in the post office, then, we don't know the history of that, but I'll just have to go along with whatever you say. Here, my glamorous assistant, how come you got tinsel in there and I haven't got anything in here at all?
I don't know. This is the bare minimum. We're not really allowed stuff, really. This is naughty.
The bare minimum?
Yeah.
What
I'd have more.
Well, there's no such thing as too much for Christmas.
Well, exactly. I'd be in with the fairy lights, but it's not on brand, apparently.
Every other you walk around this building and it's like a factory installation of radio. There's radio happening in every corner. It's amazing. Everywhere you look, there's somebody who's on the air who's doing excellent things. And Christmas is virtually bursting out of this building. There's so much to decorate. You go up to Hart, and it's like a concentrated essence of Christmas has been squirted all over their studio. It's like Santa's place isn't more Christmassy than Hart. And I'm sure that if I went over to where Capital was, it would be the same. And Classic FM is... Classic FM is the very essence of Christmas, isn't it? Talk about Christmassy. There's no more Christmassy thing probably on Earth. Even in on Santa's sleigh, it doesn't get more Christmassy than Classic FM. And we've got a desultory piece of tinsel in where you are and nothing in here. Not that I'm complaining. You know me.
Stop whining.
Anyway, let's have the Isle of Wight, Adil. Is there anybody out there? It sounded very much like he was like in a diving bell. It sounded like a call from underwater. So we are alerting the Lifeguard and the Coast Guard and International Rescue, and we'll see if we can't, pull him from the briny. Where else? Graham says, my hero is Chuck Berry, who died this year. His music did more to improve race relations than all the pulpits in Christendom. My villains are next door's cats, who I hate with a vengeance. Ah, little pussycats. How can you hate a pussycat? Unless they're killing a lot of birds and mice and going toilet on your lawn.
Disgusting.
Yeah, then you might dislike them, but I think hate's a bit strong. Chuck Berry died this year. Was that this year? I guess so. He was riding along in his automobile. If you listen to the lyrics of Chuck Berry songs, they really are quite extraordinary. I mean, it was poetic, I think you'll find, and way ahead of his time, I think. But, you know, what I know about music, you could write in the back of a stamp. Let's have a call in Enfield. Hello, Anne.
Hi.
Anne.
Hi. My hero is my GP, Dr. Vic Fiogaressa.
Well, no full names. Dr. Vic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Vic, yeah. And my villain is Jeremy Hunt.
Right. Now, why is your GP your hero? Does he give you more than the allotted 10 minutes?
Absolutely. I have a very, very rare neuromuscular disease, so I'm in and out of hospital all the time and have very complex needs, have kidney failure, all that stuff. And he is my absolute rock. I know that no matter what, I can depend on him.
Yeah, my parents have a great GP, and he goes above and beyond. He's extremely helpful, up to the point where he actually gave my mum a lift home from, I think it was either the shops or the surgery, so something like that.
Right.
But it's, you know, being extraordinarily nice.
I can't tell you what it means, though. For someone like me, I see so many different doctors, and because it's all very rare and everything, I get lots of student visits and things like that, you know, and I see consultants all over the place. But with him, I know that he basically, last year, I was in intensive care for 9.5 and then in a ward for a further 4 weeks. And I absolutely felt that if I had stayed in that hospital, because it wasn't a neuro hospital, I would have died, because they didn't know how to deal with me, so they just didn't deal with me at all. And I called him, and he rescued me.
Huh.
He completely and utterly rescued me. But I am also a retired nurse, and I have 2 of my children, one of whom is a senior medical registrar and one of whom is a senior psychologist, both working in the NHS. And both of them I can't tell you how hard they've worked. I'm a single parent. I brought them up as a single parent, and they have worked their socks off, and they are both absolutely, completely and utterly broken. Completely. My daughter, who is the senior med reg, I can't tell you the number of times she calls me in absolute tears, because she is exhausted, she's terrified, she's made a mistake, the agency staff haven't turned up, so she's having to do another shift, because when you're on call and you're in a normal hospital, when you're a senior med reg, you basically go over the entire hospital. And she can walk miles and miles and miles every day, and can't stop to have a drink, can't stop to have a sandwich, and she calls me in tears, in absolute exhaustion.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. I mean, I've seen what, because I've been not for me, but I've been visiting someone who's been in hospital for a while now, and some of what the medical professionals there do seems just extraordinary, like superhuman, and how they maintain a cheery persona while they're doing it is just beyond me, because every day it must be just a litany of misery that they have to deal with. I couldn't begin to understand how they manage to do it.
And you know, no health professional in the world, you know, myself included, has ever come home after a shift feeling as though you've been able to deliver the care that you've been trained to give. You know, you just can't do it nowadays. And I'm also a patient governor of a very large hospital in London, and the thing that terrifies me is that this nation is sleepwalking into a privatised NHS. Everything, all but nursing staff and medical staff and paramedics, are now privatised.
Well, so as long as, I mean, most other countries have a private element to their health service, and most of our closest competitors have arguably a better system than we do. Better results, quicker appointment times, and so on.
Afford to pay.
Well, no, that's not true. I mean, people aren't in want of treatment in Germany and France and Sweden and Norway and all of these places, as long as we don't follow where America has gone. And it seems that in certain respects we're doing just that. And I think that people should have alarm bells ringing in their mind. We don't want to follow. I mean, I love America and I love Americans in general, but we don't want to follow them as far as social care and security and welfare is concerned, because they've got it bizarrely and uniquely wrong. Iran, I'm going to have to go, but thanks for that. I'll the NHS get another tick. This message says, hero, Mother Teresa calling the election and wiping out the Tourist majority. Yes, I'm sure she won't be appreciating that. Angie says, my hero is our postman. Rain, hail, snow, ice, blizzard, hurricane, or blazing sunshine, he delivers with a smile. The villains are those who use their mobile phones while driving. Yeah, human beings can't drive. We've had that proven over and over and over again. Every second of every day you can say that it's been proven that human beings can't drive. And they doubly especially can't drive when their attention is on something else. Like people who turn the radio up to rock concert volume, as though that is an aid to concentration. It isn't. You're not in a bloomin' music video. Turn your music down. What is it with postmen and shorts, by the way? Why do they wear shorts? Like all year round. It'll be freezing blooming, it'll be snowing. They'll be up to their jingle bells in snow. They're still wearing shorts. What's that about? Let's have a call in Henley-on-Thames. Hello, John.
Oh, good evening, Nick.
John.
You've got an English Superman in the making. He's a very young hero. He's 6 years old. If I tell you he was on ITN, the main network news the other night, can I give you his name?
What, his first name?
Yes, Frankie.
Right, and what does Frankie do?
He was so moved by the homeless people, the rough sleepers he was seeing while walking around, assuming he's going to school and coming back. He decided to put all his pocket money in and raise, by various means, 250 quid. And he bought lots of warm gloves, scarves and hats, and with the help of his mum, wrapped up 50 parcels and went round back onto the street and was giving them out to the homeless people.
Huh. And where was this then?
This is about a week ago on the ITN main news.
No, but where was it?
This is in East London.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was such a moving report.
It fair gives you hope for the human race, don't it, young people?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much bad news now, and things like that are really bring a ray of sunshine, a really big ray of sunshine.
Actually, I take that back. You know, when I read that phrase, if something good has happened and somebody writes that, it gives you hope for the human race. What a depressing thought to have, that you would need somebody to do something extraordinarily nice to give you hope for the human race again. I row back from that. I haven't lost faith in human beings.
Yeah, there's a little English lad. He's he's probably a future leader. He's just, if you're generous at that age, you're thinking of other people at that age. I mean, things are looking better, aren't they?
Well, I suppose so. Except that, in all probability, life will beat that out of him.
Yeah, that's the big danger.
Like it has with everybody. We all start open-minded and open-hearted and wide-eyed with wonder, and experience closes that all down, and then we become, I don't like this and I don't like that, and moan. But maybe not in his case.
His mum could obviously see what's in him and what's in his head and his feelings, and it was so moving to see. And his mum was obviously spending time helping him to wrap up these presents and going out into the cold, and obviously they had a camera crew following them. But it was so uplifting to see. It was brought a tear to my eye anyway.
All right, excellent work. Thanks a lot, John. Well done, Frankie. This says, my villain of the year is Putin. Rootin' tootin' shootin' Putin. He's been like a real Blofeld of Spectre out of a Bond movie. Yeah. I mean, he is... how tall is Rootin' Tootin'? I don't think he's very tall. But he does exude an air of menace, don't he? I mean, you wouldn't want to see him striding into a room that you happen to be sitting in. I haven't got to the end of my story about Boris Johnson goes to Russia yet. It's if it wasn't so serious, it'd be comical. And maybe I'll get into that after the new news. I'll read out a couple more messages and we'll go to the news. I'll come back with some of your calls. I'm doing the heroes and villains of 2017. This is prior to, on Sunday night, we'll start the A to Z of the year. We'll take a letter, if you haven't played this game before. It's something I look forward to every year. And every year I do this between Christmas and New Year. You take a letter of the alphabet, give it an hour, and people will call in for things that are associated with that letter, by which method we'll make the definitive list of the year. Jamie says, heroes. Grip onto something firm. A lot of you aren't going to like this. Gina Miller, for putting the government in its place over parliamentary Brexit scrutiny. Yeah, there's something else that came up about that. Maybe I'll talk about that. That's just so much to talk about and so little time. There's a court action on a deal coming from Scotland. Maybe I'll talk about that later. Jamie continues, Bruce Forsyth is a hero for bringing all the many laughs over the many years of his incredible career. R.I.P., sir. Marvin Humes from Capital FM's Big Top 40, he developed a six-pack in 3 months and donated to children in need as well as presenting the show. A six-pack? Well, I drank a six-pack just yesterday. What's so clever about that? Anybody could do it. All you have to do is put your mind to it. Am I right? Debbie says the hero is the guide dog Cosby, who belonged to David Blunkett and died on service from cancer. He worked right up to the end. Not Crosby. Did I say Crosby? Cosby. And Jim says the hero is the fellow who put the lettering up behind Mrs. May at the conference. Yeah. Now, that's sexist, Jim. Why would you assume that it was a bloke that did that? Women are just as capable of being inept as men. I think you'll find that's right. Oh, for crying out loud, the bloomin' passports. I'll get back to your calls and suggestions about heroes and villains in just a second. But let's just deal with this for a moment. Do you mind if we deal with this for a moment?
No.
British passports issued after October 2019 are going to be dark blue and gold, replacing the burgundy model prescribed under the EU membership. Burgundy. No! What difference does it make? Our passport's redesigned every 5 years, and the new version is going to come into production next autumn when the current contract expires. I expect it'll be made in China. No, it's going to be made somewhere in the EU. The return of the navy colour, first used in 1921, is being hailed as a victory by pro-Brexit MPs who campaigned for the return of the colour. The people that voted out want a true blue British passport to look at wistfully when they pull it out of a drawer before putting it back in again and going on holiday to Clacton. The government said the new passport, which would include updated features and technology, will be one of the most secure in the world. It sounds like an invitation to forgers to me. That's just asking for it, that is. Brandon Lewis, the immigration minister, says leaving the EU gives us a unique opportunity to restore our national identity. Holy macaroni. If our identity is so delicate and easily broken that it would be ruined by the colour of our blooming passport, which we stare at for about 10 seconds a year, if that, then we are deeply in trouble. Brandon Lewis, the immigration minister, said, I am delighted to announce that the British passport will be returning to the iconic blue and gold design after we have left the European Union in 2019. Hurrah! We've got our country back. God. I bet if I went into the street with a clipboard and asked 100 passers-by if they knew what our passport colour was now and 20 years ago, they wouldn't have the faintest bloomin' idea. Conservative Andrew Rossindell, speaking last April, said the burgundy EU passport had been a source of national humiliation. The restoration of our own British passport is a clear statement to the world that Britain is back. No, that's not what it's a statement of. It's a statement of, I don't know, just desperation. It's just kind of pathetic. Other countries are looking at us and laughing. Who cares? He says the humiliation... Now, okay, get this. Speaking in April, Conservative MP Andrew Rossindell said the humiliation of having a pink European Union passport will now soon be over. Pink. Now, if it was any colour, it wasn't pink. It wasn't even on nodding terms with pink. But pink has associations, don't it? And that was the word he plucked out of the air to describe the colour of that passport. Burgundy ain't pink. But that's what he described it as, pink. Huh. He says national identity matters, and there is no better way of demonstrating this today than by bringing back this much-loved national symbol when travelling overseas. Oh, God, it's so pathetic. And by the way, point of interest, it could have been any blooming colour we like. We could have had it blue all along. It had nothing to do with the EU. The EU didn't insist on it. We went along with what the EU wanted. We could have said no. Other countries said no. We could have kept the blue all along. Just like we could have chucked anybody out the country that came here from the EU who didn't get a job within 3 months or 6 months, whatever it is. And we decided not to do that either, but blame the EU anyway. The government could have changed the colour of British passports back to blue at any time. Brexit's got nothing to do with it. And yet, politicians are still clamouring to call this a great British victory. Which gives you an indication of how stupid this whole thing is. Theresa May herself described the decision to revert to the iconic colour as an expression of our independence and sovereignty. We have independence and sovereignty in this respect. We can change the colour to fuchsia if you want. The Home Office confirmed that the UK voluntarily adopted the burgundy colour from the European Union and was not obliged to keep it. There's no such rule. They're lying to you about that. God, the amount of people that wrap themselves in the flag and claim patriotism, who are just absolutely full of it, is extraordinary. And Jacob Rees-Mogg said, ooh. Let's have Durham. Hello, Margaret.
Hi, Nick.
Good, Margaret.
I'm ringing up to say to you, my heroine of the year is Annie from Conforth.
Oh.
I think she is wonderful. She's mild, she's calm, and she talks a lot of sense. I love listening to this lady on your program. She's amazing.
She should get her own show, actually. She's a very good speaker.
Avec moi. I ring in regularly to Ian Dale, certain people, but I'm usually very irate and very angry and all the rest of it. I am a nasty person when I've had a whiskey in my kitchen at night. But I too talk a lot of sense, as does Annie. Now, your LBC is still London's big conversation.
No, that's not true.
Leading.
That's not true.
It
You're
is
calling
true.
from Margaret.
All about
Hey, have you had a whiskey this evening, Margaret? You're calling from Durham.
I am, and you're all London-based Southerners. I suggest.
Well, we are
Annie,
based in. I'm not going to apologise for where I live.
I don't want you to. I'm just saying your programme is based in London.
Yeah.
I'm sick of hearing about London. I don't want to know about London. I hate London. I've travelled there for 14 years. I don't like it.
How can you hate London?
I just feel very uncomfortable there, and I've done the best of London. I've had dinner in the Churchill Room and all the posh hotels. I've done the whole lot in London. If I can get on a train and chug back up here, I'm happy. What I'm saying is, you need a programme that represents other areas of the country.
Margaret, you're calling from Durham.
Exactly.
Yes.
The beautiful city.
Well, if you say so.
I say so.
But you're a voice from Durham. Don't you get it? We got calls from here, there and everywhere, baby. Just because they're rooted to a studio in London doesn't mean to say that everything that everybody talks about is about London. I think you are being overly sensitive.
I am telling you, the whole programme is about the south of England.
No.
You need a programme from the north. You need
No, you don't. We need all programmes to be about everywhere. There's no.
It's not about everywhere.
Yeah, it is. How many whiskies have you had tonight, Margaret?
Not enough.
Not enough. I beg to differ. I'd say too many. That's the thing with whiskey. I don't know. There's something about it. I mean, I'm not really a spirits drinker, although I do like tequila.
Groovy.
Yeah. There's something about tequila.
Yowza.
That's a bit, like a couple of pints of tequila, and I'm. Yeah, but whiskey, you just get kind of like sour and dour and aggressive. Don't you, Margaret? But in closing, I would have to say...
Stop whining!
Paul says his villain of the year is the gas fitter who fitted him a new boiler just 9 weeks ago, costing £1,500, and which has stopped producing hot water.
Oh,
no! Oh, no. His hero is every other gas fitter. Yeah, all the ones that you didn't hire. Yeah, the one that was going to screw it up, that's the one you hired. Isn't that always the way? Yeah. But at least it's not that cold out. I mean, it's extraordinarily warm. It's like 9-10 degrees out there. One moment, please, and I'll check the weather in London. 11 tomorrow and only 9 the low. It's 10 degrees out right now. And then 11 on Sunday and 9 the low. And then 11 on Monday, 8 Tuesday, 7 on Wednesday, 7, 9, 10, 10. It's all going to be very cloudy. You ain't going to see the sun. But hey, you know what? We've had the shortest day. The shortest day is over. It's only going to get lighter from this moment on. Of course, we won't notice it until about June, when all of a sudden we'll look at our watch and go, hey, it's still light and it's 7 o'clock. How fantastic. How did that happen? I ain't no expert on alcohol or anything else for that matter. But I do think that whiskey does tend to make people a bit aggressive, don't you find? Whereas champagne, for instance, doesn't make people instantly want to start fighting each other, does it? There's something effervescent. Well, I know that there is effervescence in it. But it's what constitutes and defines the drink also has an effect on your mood in a similar manner. It makes you bubbly. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make you fighty, whereas whiskey tends to make... It's a depressant. Well, all alcohol is a depressant, but some are more depressing than others. But I think tequila doesn't have the same characteristics as other alcohol. Does it? Have I got that right? Because it's from Cactus, baby.
Groovy.
I could do with a couple of pints of tequila right now, as a matter of fact.
Yowza.
Here, from the sleepy Isle of Wight, is Adil. Adil.
Hi there.
Yes, sir.
How are you today? You alright?
Great, mate.
Right, just giving you my hero is the Queen and my villain is Richard Branson.
Right, why is your hero the Queen?
Well, I just think that she does very, very well, especially with all this crazy business going on inside the world this day and age, that she's very well composed. You don't really hear much about her. She keeps her cool, and I just like the way she deals with things, you know. She's very, very calm. She always has been from as long as I've known her. You know, she's just always been a very, very cool person.
Well, we don't know that, though, do we? I mean, she's got her showbiz face on when she's out and about and waving and smiling, which is what she does for a living. But behind the scenes, she could be throwing major tantrums.
What, like throwing plates and that at Prince Philip?
Well, I've got no idea.
After a couple of whiskeys?
Well, it's entirely possible. But she doesn't drink whiskey. She famously drinks Dubonnet. I think she pours it over her cornflakes and she starts drinking really early. But she manages to hold down what is described as a full-time job. So maybe that's a lesson to us all.
Yes, definitely. But either way, even if she does do that, that makes her even more cool, because then that puts her on the same sort of level as us normal people, where we like to throw tantrums and throw plates around and all that sort of stuff. So you know what? I hope she does do that.
Well, you speak for yourself, mate. I'm trying to go tantrum-free. Maybe that should be our New Year's resolution. Throw fewer plates.
Most definitely. I agree with that.
Right. And what's up with Richard Branson?
Well, I personally think that he's a little bit cheeky, especially trying to sue the NHS when he's trying to privatise it and buy it off.
He's trying to sue? Wait a minute.
Well, that's what I heard, that he was trying... I'm sure I read an article probably not too long ago that he was trying to sue the NHS, and not unless it was fake news, which I really hope it wasn't.
That doesn't sound right. Hang on a minute. I'm going to look that up. Branson? No,
I'm sure it was a couple of weeks ago or something like that. It popped up on one of the...
BRANSON Okay, hang on.
Anything coming up?
Yeah. NHS makes undisclosed settlement to... Hang on. This is The Independent from last month. NHS makes undisclosed settlement to Richard Branson's Virgin Care after legal dispute. The NHS has settled a legal dispute with private healthcare group Virgin Care for an undisclosed amount. The Labour Party said it was...
How much of a bugger do you think he is? He knows that he was struggling.
Well, hang on a minute. I don't know what the it of it is. The Labour Party said it was scandalous. Virgin Care sued the NHS after it lost out on an £82 million contract to provide children's health services across Surrey, citing concerns over serious flaws in the way the contract was awarded. The company filed proceedings... this completely passed me by. This was last month. I had no idea. Blah, blah, blah. Virgin Care has been a winner on several major contracts for community healthcare and services in recent years, including a £700 million adult social services contract in Bath and North Somerset. I suppose that it was the way in which the contract was awarded. I don't know. But okay, I'm not going to argue about your list, Adil. I'll have to go with what you say and stick him on it. How does that sound?
Well, basically, I just think that it was totally uncalled for. I think he doesn't need the money, and especially where he knows that we're struggling.
Well, I'm sure he didn't trouser the money. I'm sure that's not what it was about. But without knowing more about it, I can't comment one way or the other. But anyway, you are obviously exercised about it, Adil, and I'll stick it on the list. Thanks a lot, mate. Paul says, villains were the Brits that voted Leave. The heroes were the Brits that voted Leave. He says, I'm an Irish nationalist, and that's how confused I am. Well, you, me, and everyone I know. Can we agree that the decision was too complicated to be left in the hands of dopes like me?
Yes.
Yes. At least we can agree on that. Can we further agree that the decision to be in and out of the EU was too complicated to be left in the hands of people like me and you? Or is that going too far? This is how democracy is supposed to work. We're supposed to, like dopes like me, are supposed to vote for smart people to run the country, and then they take decisions based on what they think would be best, according to all the available information. According to the civil servants that read through vast tomes, according to the experts of economics and political science, according to people who actually know way more than the average dope like me. And so that's why we hire, hopefully, smart people. I mean, every now and again, a non-smart person gets through. But mostly they're smarter than the average, they're, smarter than the average bear. But when it comes to a referendum, then suddenly people that shouldn't actually be left in charge of tying their own shoelaces without adult supervision are making decisions on which way the country goes. And that's when the problems start. I just don't think that we should be asked direct questions like that. We should have our elders and betters, or just our betters, decide on that for us. It's like if you went to your GP, you'd want an expert, him or her, to decide on what would be the best thing for you to do. You wouldn't want him or her to open it to the general public for them to decide, would you? I think the same thing goes with, and doubly so, really, for the direction that the country goes in. That's my thoughts on the issue. John says, Ed Balls is my hero. He was great on Strictly and has proved that politics can be sexy. What? Sexy? Well, Ed Balls isn't exactly my type, but I seriously doubt that anybody in their right mind could describe Ed Balls as sexy. Like sexy as the back end of a battleship, maybe. No offence. I don't watch Strictly. I've got no interest in reality programs or those phone in and vote shows. Is it a phone in and vote show? Or people cooking or any of that stuff? I've avoided watching any of it, partly because I think I'd quite likely get involved straight away and start picking favourites, and then I wouldn't be able to stop watching it. My advice is just don't watch it at all. I think you'll find that that's good advice. It's like social media. Just don't look at it. Over a year ago now, I decided to stop looking at social media. So I'm very sorry if you've been sending me messages on my FaceSpace and InstaWhat, because I haven't looked at any of them. Not for ages. Because nothing good will come of it. I mean, if you attended to what other people said about your work or about what you'd mentioned here, there, and everywhere, then you just go out your mind. Because 1,000 people saying, "Oh, I think you're really great," are wiped out by one person saying, "You're rubbish." So just don't look at it. Nothing good can come of it. Social media. Oh, and while you're at it, tape over your camera and your microphone as well. There's some alarming things being suggested about what your phone and your laptop and your computer are doing, unbeknownst to you. It's a little bit worrying. I might have time to get into that after the new news as well. So, God, is it dried up already? Heroes and villains, is that it? Are you out? Are you completely spent? No further information or opinion one way or the other? You're joking. I think coming in quite late, a potential villain of the piece is somebody who's been on the news quite a lot today, and that was Princess Michael of Kent, who wore what's called a blackamoor brooch, something I'd never heard of before, to the Queen's Christmas lunch at Buckingham Palace, which was attended by Hazza and Sparkles. You know, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And there were pictures of her, you'll see her on the World Wide Web. There's loads of pictures of her looking so utterly pleased with herself as she's photographed with this badge on, going into the palace. Now, with the photographs of her sitting in a car, so you can really only see her face and this brooch. And, of course, Meghan Sparkle's father is white and her mother is black. And this Blackamoor badge, this sort of figurine that she'd appended to her coat, right where the photographers could see it most clearly, is a figurine with a person with black skin, usually from the 18th century. I mean, they look like something out of a black and white minstrel show. But, you know, I bet the Princess Michael of Kent was only wearing it because she doesn't have any other jewellery. Yeah. Oh, she's probably got roomfuls of the stuff, packed to the ceilings. She could have picked anything. But she picked that. Huh. I wonder if it's possible, just possible, that she's not a very nice person. But I'll just throw that out there as a possibility. About Princess Michael of Kent, I looked her up on the World Wide Web, and here's a brief history. This is her lineage. Princess Michael of Kent was born in 1945 in Carlsbad in the now Czech Republic. Her Austrian maternal grandmother was Princess Hedwig von Windisch-Graetz. Continues over. She's the younger daughter of Baron Gunther Hubertus von Riebnitz by his wife Countess Maria Anna Carolina Franziska Walpurga Bernadette, daughter of Count Friedrich Zappary von Murazombach. Oh no, there's more. Is Count Friedrich Zappary von Murazombach, Zeichget und Zappa. Her father was a Nazi Sturmbannführer in the SS in the Second World War. But, you know, apart from that, she's as British as they come. John gives a suggestion for the villains of the year. He says, all the critics who seem to say with one voice that Dunkirk was good. What a waste of time. It was dreadful, he said. Really? I spent ages trying to figure out which film I was going to watch on my Christmas Day, which was yesterday. Ages and ages I did detailed research. And Dunkirk was almost the one I was going to go for, but I thought, do I really? Well, for a start, I know what the ending is, so, you know, spoiler alert.
Warning, warning!
They all got away, apart from the ones that didn't. I just wondered whether I would be, whether it was Christmas fair to, you know, immerse myself in like a lot of dead people. And I thought maybe not. But I'm amazed that you would say that it was bad. But then, you know, the Star Wars, the latest Star Wars got absolutely boffo ratings from the critics, 4 and 5 stars. They thought it was super fantastic in every regard. And I sat stony-faced throughout. I would just say, unless they're advertising with us, in which case it is the best film of the year and you should go twice. Book now to avoid disappointment. But the villains in Star Wars, they just seem to be preposterous. They just seem to be silly. And much of it looked like it was set in Ireland. Which is because it was set in Ireland. I know that's where they filmed a lot of it, but it's not supposed to look like Ireland. It's supposed to look like outer space. But there were some excellent explosions, which is one of the things I do demand of a blockbuster. I want hundreds of millions of pounds worth of stuff to blow up, and they certainly do their explosions very, very well indeed. But no, Dunkirk was high on my list, as was The Hateful Eight, which is Quentin Tarantino. And there's another thing I thought, well, there's going to be a lot of dead people. It's going to be pretty, you know, edge of your seat. It's going to be nerve-shredding. Maybe that's not what Christmas is all about either. So I went with Hail Caesar, which is the Coen brothers. You know, Fargo and all of that good stuff. But that was weird. It was just a It was like an homage. Oh God! Did I just use the word homage?
Yes.
Sorry about that. It was an homage to Hollywood in the 1950s. It was kind of a pastiche of all the different kind of films that they used to make then. It's all right, but as a film, this doesn't really work. I didn't think. It's just a bunch of unconnected routines. Like here's a dance routine, and here's a swimming routine, and here's what do they call it? Like a Bogart and a Bacall routine, and it's just bizarre. Anyway, I was talking earlier on about. By the way, have we dried up? Is that it? No more heroes and villains? Holy smoke! You ran out quick. Now God, it seems so long ago now, ages and ages. But it was at the beginning of this program when I was talking about Boris Goes to Russia. And the distinct possibility that we're going to be at war by the time the year ends. Our least diplomatic diplomat made his way to Russia and waded into this argument about Russia in cyberspace, trying to interfere with Brexit and put Donald Trump into the White House. So Bozo of the FO barges into the scene looking dishevelled and said that Russian hostility is at higher levels now than at any time since the Cold War. And the Russians said, hostile? Say that to our face. And Theresa May dramatically escalated warnings against President Vladimir Putin's malign influence. And in amongst all this distrust and all of this negative feeling, Boris barges onto the scene. What could possibly go wrong? Fortunately, we have Boris Johnson's famous tact to mitigate any unpleasantness, and everything went smoothly. Oh no, that's right, he practically started World War III with the first thing he said. And I thought it was going to be the screaming Mimi in the White House that was going to bring us that.
I'll bring us into war.
Exactly. And so Boris Johnson's visit to Moscow descended into a slanging match. Is he good at being a diplomat? Ask yourself that. Boris said that the Russians had smelly pants, and the Russians said, no, you've got smelly pants, and that is about the sum of it, I'm afraid. We're still in junior school, except that when there's a fight in the playground, the whole world explodes, and only cockroaches and Keith Richards will survive. I actually think that Keith Richards is indestructible. They should construct cars out of whatever Keith Richards is made of. No one would ever be injured in a crash again. So Bozo went to Moscow and accused the Russians of meddling in Brexit, fiddling about. Which is a pretty strange thing for a born-again Brexiteer to say. Essentially, by his own admission, we're leaving the EU in part because of Russian interference in our democratic system. And they're also famously on the hook for trying to get their orange mate into the Oval Office. Now, the FBI said that Russia did it. And the CIA said they did it, and the National Security Agency said that they did it, and MI5 and MI6 and GCHQ, and Theresa May said they did it. But the Russians said, oh no, we didn't. So that's settled. They said they didn't do it, and that's good enough for the leader of the free world. Case closed. Move along, please. Nothing to see here. We should trust him, because Donald Trump is a smart person.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Like a smart person. So Boris went to Moscow to make things all nice, to make up. kiss and be friends, to mend bridges, reach across the divide with a warm hand of friendship, but he instantly started a slanging match about Russian hacking in British elections. And there have been dark mutterings about that, but he was the first to officially call Russia out about it. And the Russians said it weren't us, we ain't done nothing. And they said that in Russian. And Boris's immediate response was... Liar! Yeah. And then he started talking about crisps. I'm not making that up. He actually started banging on about how we should be friends because the Russians are buying British kettle chips. Except he called them kettle crisps. Which shows he's never actually gone out and bought some in those thingies, you know, shops. And then as he and his Russian counterpart wrapped up the press conference after a 2-hour bilateral meeting, which was described as fraught, which is diplomatic speak for barely preventing each other from rolling around on the floor as a wrestling match. Fraught. Boris Johnson joked that he'd handed his coat and hat over to the Russian Foreign Secretary Sergei Lavrov in a show of trust and affection. And Lavrov said there was nothing in the pockets. And Johnson said, "Oh, you've checked? Well, how do you know?" Which is alarming. So that's lesson 2 if you're going to Russia. Check that you empty the pockets before handing over your hat and your coat. Lesson 1, of course, is make sure there's no cameras in the hotel room before ordering the Donald Trump in-room water treatment package. Always check for cameras first. And this meeting in Moscow was an attempt to break the deadlock between us. And how did that go, by the way?
Fabulous.
And before he went, Boris said our relations are at a low level, and not because of our side. And the Russians say, you prefer to talk about the reasons publicly, whereas we'd prefer to talk about our reasons for mutual concern not through the microphone, but directly, which sounded very much like, say that to our face, big boy. See, we are in the playground. And then this row was reignited during the press conference. Sergei Lavrov claimed Boris Johnson had deliberately contradicted him in a bid to protect his reputation with the British media. What reputation would that be that needs protecting? Boris said, it's your reputation I'm worried about, Sergei. He said, Russian attempts to interfere in our referendums and elections, whatever they might be, have not been successful. He said, had they been successful, that would have been an entirely different matter. Well, how successful they've been is unknowable. If we're sure they interfered, how can we be sure that they didn't succeed in their aims? I mean, if an aim is to sow discord and get everyone at each other's throats, well, you'd have to say it's been tremendously effective, unless it was a coincidence. I mean, for instance, the Donald Trump thing. Apparently, if each state in America changed its vote by 1%, then Hillary Clinton would not only have got the popular vote, but she'd also have got the top job. So to say, on the one hand, that Russia is interfering in Brexit and in the American election, but then in the same breath to say, but it didn't work, is ridiculous. That's one of the reasons that Ancient Orange can't stand the Russian accusations, because if they're true, then he didn't win, Russia did. And his ego can't stand the thought of that. It would be like he can't stand it when people point out that his daddy gave him money and the contacts to make it. And one other thing that the Russians accused us of was that the UK government criticises politicians who speak to Russian media outlets like Russia Today. And that criticism did not reflect well on the UK. Apparently British politicians accuse other politicians of going on that RT programme, you know, that news channel that comes out of the Kremlin. And that criticism of people who go on that channel does not reflect well on us, says the Russians. We're very touchy in this regard. This is after the Tory MP David Gauke accused Russia Today of being a propaganda tool. Now, is there anyone that you can think of that he might have been referring to going on that television channel?
I'm a nutcase.
Is there anybody at all that comes to mind?
We've got a few idiots in our party.
No, me neither. I'm drawing a blank. Heroes and villains. I'd be surprised if we've got through the entirety of the list. There must be some more. Paul says his heroes are Prince Harry. Why? And the Grenfell volunteers. Oh, that makes more sense. And the first respondents, and basically anyone that was a decent human being. He says the plans for the Death Star are less complicated than Brexit. Oh, hang on, Star Wars isn't real. What? Isn't real? Jeremy says his heroine of the year is Melania Trump. Imagine what she has to put up with.
I will be so great to women. I cherish women.
There was this, I can imagine. I can't imagine the full horror of it. The horror. But there was a famous quote about a porky parliamentarian making love to this particular parliamentarian. Said an anonymous ex-girlfriend was like having a double wardrobe fall on top of you with the key still in the lock. That's priceless. And that would be, I imagine, what it is being Melania Trump. Hey, Donny.
Oh, shut up!
Yeah. No wonder she spent so much time in New York. Slaps that tiny hand away. Is that it? Oh, come on. There must be more. Oh, here we go. Anne says, my hero is Ken Loach for directing I, Daniel Blake, an absolutely true but harrowing film. You see, that's not what I want in the cinema. I don't want harrowing. I want to be taken away to a happier place. A happier place than, London, for instance. That's what I really can't imagine why anybody would want to dip themselves in somebody else's misery as part of their, their out of work entertainment. Why? Life's miserable enough as it is. Ken Loach, cheer up, mate. It might never happen. So far, are you going to force me to do a recap? 5 minutes left on the show, and you've run out of material. Heroes and villains of the year. I am stunned. Sitting here, stunned I am. So I've got the Spanish police as the villains in Catalonia, and right enough they were. Those were pretty horrible things to see. But I think it was particularly horrible because it was happening in Europe. Robert Mueller is a hero for his Russian investigations, and pretty soon, hopefully, someone is going to build a wall around Donald Trump.
I'm building a wall, okay? I'm building a wall. I'm building a wall, okay? I'm building a wall.
He's building a wall in Ireland, apparently. People are very upset, apart from those that aren't. He's building a wall around his golf course to protect it from the sea. A hero is Terry McAuliffe, the governor of Virginia. You'll have to look that one up. And a hero is Alec Baldwin for his very unflattering imitation of the screaming Mimi in the White House.
I'd like to punch him in the face.
Let's have Hounslow. Patrick.
Hello, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Love listening to your program every Fridays and Saturdays.
Thanks, Patrick.
Excellent. My hero, Lewis Hamilton, winning the Formula One championship for the 4th time, Greatest Britain.
Can I ask you a question about this?
Yes, please.
It's the car, isn't it?
I suppose, yeah, the car, the team behind him, but also, what good would it have been if you didn't have a good driver, a good racer?
Yeah, but I think all the drivers are pretty much of a muchness, aren't they? I think whoever's got the best car is the one that wins.
Well, one time you used to have this Scottish fella, what's his name, who's now the narrator, and he wasn't particularly good when he was at McLaren until Lewis Hamilton came along.
Well, you remember when Michael Schumacher absolutely dominated Formula One, and then he went away, he retired, and then he came back in a different car, and he didn't win anything. So it's not the driver, it's the car.
No, I think it's a combination of the driver as well as the vehicle.
Do you ever watch? Do you ever used to watch Top Gear?
I do.
Yeah,
I did.
And every now and again they used to have a Formula One driver come in, right?
Yes.
And they would all be within about a second of each other. I mean, it's there. Once you become skilled enough to drive one of those fantastical machines, then I don't think there's any. You can put a Rizzler paper between them as far as ability goes. It's just the car. I have a big problem with the Formula One. I think that it's just an engineering exercise. There's no. I just don't think it's the driver at all. It's just whoever's got the best engineer. They don't even need to run the race. They should just have an expert engineer go round and award the prize to whoever has got the best car.
Yes, but I still think that the driver does make that. He's quite important.
Can we talk about his dress sense just for a moment?
Can we talk about
Lewis Hamilton's dress sense? What does he look like? Seriously,
I think he does his own. He's his own model.
Well, he's his own stylist, yeah. Because if somebody else was telling him what to wear, then they'd have been fired by now.
I suppose he's got the same stylish as Kim Il-jung for North Korea.
Yeah, no style at all. He looks like an explosion in a bad clothes factory. Awful.
And my villain, I'm sorry to say this, regretfully, is got to be the police officers who withheld information that could have ended that young man in prison for a very long time.
It makes you wonder how many people are in prison for, whatever it might be under similar circumstances.
That is exactly what I've always been saying, because I've been the victim of one such incident. I won't go into it, but yes. I always say this: not everyone who is in prison necessarily had to be there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There could have been failures along the line that unwittingly, landed them where they were.
No, yeah, you're quite right. Yeah. Okay, yes. All right.
Okay,
good
Nick,
work. Thanks a lot, Patrick. Neil.
Hello, Nick.
Yes, sir. I think you're going to be the last one. Go ahead.
Yeah, I probably will. And Nick, lovely show. I really love your show. I've been listening for a while.
Thanks.
Never rang, and today I thought I will. I love your show because it's better than any comedy show. Honestly, you're a legend. You make me laugh all the time.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I just wanted to check if I could have multiple heroes quickly.
Yes. All right then.
Okay, so my heroes are David Cameron and Theresa May.
You want to explain that one for us?
Yeah, the reason why is because David Cameron wanted to obviously save his own political party, and he called for a referendum on Brexit. And then he really wanted us to remain. I believe that he really wanted us to remain.
Yeah.
But then when obviously it didn't happen, then he was very clever in removing himself and planting Theresa May. And Theresa May came in all guns blazing for the hardest Brexit you can think of. And now what she's doing is she's still pretending she's going for a hard Brexit or Brexit, but I'm sure she's going to reverse Brexit. And I, as a Remainer, I think Theresa May is going to be my hero because she is going to do that. She is doing everything she can. She's done everything she could to lose the election. She had a massive lead. She done everything she could to get rid of all the Damien Greens and Fallons and stuff. And, she's made herself so weak for the negotiations where she had a majority.
And this was all deliberate. Wow, I thought it was just bad luck and incompetence on her part. I had no idea. Hey, Neil, I'm going to have to leave it there. So it was 1 and 2. Theresa May was his number 1 hero, and David Cameron was his number 2 hero. You just got pipped to the post, David.
I think this is nonsense.